Hey everyone, and welcome to my next video for Square Enix and Cavia's Nier for the PlayStation 3. In this video, I'm going to finish up the second major quest in the Junk Heap, which is looking for the mother of the two children in the weapon upgrade building. And then I will be going back to the Aerie later to meet up with Kaine again. And so this chapter, or this section right here, is pretty cool. So you go back in and you now have the elevator access code to go deeper into the structure. And so here we go again with some, I guess, twin stick shooter style stuff as you're on the mine cart. And there's a new mechanic there with bombs. And what I think is really cool about this game, and especially in this section right here, is how similar it is in style, well maybe not style, but similar in terms of approach to The Legend of Zelda. And so in this section of the game, you learn how to use bombs and pick them up and throw them, and you understand very quickly that if you're holding them when they blow up, they will do some massive damage to you. And this boss right here is similar to some of the bosses that you may have seen in Zelda games. And so there are patterns here that are predictable, but still take some effort and good timing to dodge. But I like that there's a very methodical approach to these bosses. They're fun to fight, although I will say that I think, and maybe it's just because I'm not very good at this game, they do take a long time. So in terms of pacing, they feel a little slower than what you might be used to in your standard action-adventure game, or Zelda game in particular. So after you go through that and you do some damage, you'll go into the next phase of his attack, which is the Robotron style fighting against these robots. And then there is almost a bullet hell section coming up. So after you fight this next wave of robots that are firing the bullets at you, this right here is very reminiscent of the games from companies like Cave and other shooter developers from Japan. I think that's really cool. It's interesting that you can use your magic to counteract theirs, so you're not entirely screwed if you're in a storm of bullets. If you're properly placed, you can fire at them and get rid of them and not get hit. So I think it's great. At the end here, you saw that his final wave of attacks require you to pick up bombs from the ground and throw them into his mouth before he closes it or hits you with his laser. So after you destroy him, you find the children's mother here dead with, I guess, her lover. So, I think she was running away and, told the children that she was just going to collect scrap. Or maybe she met him here. It's hard to say. But I think, and maybe not I think, something that is really quite different about this game, I think, compared to other action games that might not go this deep, is that, the store here is meant to just allow you to upgrade weapons. And I think in most other games, it would just be a store you go to and you take your various pieces and go in there and they forge a new weapon for you. But they actually blend in this good backstory for the mother and these kids, especially Jacob taking care of his younger brother, and you find out that he does know about the mom and what she's doing, but is just trying to protect his younger brother. So I think that's great. I think it adds a nice layer of depth to the story and to the characters in the game. When I first started this game, I guess I made the wrong assumption that this would just sort of be a dark, soulless, ugly, just generic action game. But the more I play it, the more I see that the people involved in making it really care deeply about the characters and the story they wanted to tell. And I left this loading screen in here because it reminds me of the Giving Tree. And so, yeah, this next bit of the video is me just either completing quests or picking up new ones, so this isn't all that interesting. But yeah, kind of getting back to the characters, and something I've mentioned in my last video was I do really enjoy the conversations that Nier has with Grimoire Weiss as they're running around the world. You know, some of the conversations are serious and other ones are really funny, like when he and Grimoire are talking about Popola and Devola's drinking habits and their behavior after they drink. It's kind of funny, and it's not that important, but it gives those characters more personality, and it further fleshes out them as people in this world, which I like, because there is a lot of time spent running around completing these quests. And like this one you get from the tavern owner in Seafront, and I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, just because, okay, you need 10 of this, 10 of that, 5 of this, and that's just, it's not my favorite type of quest where you just have to collect materials and bring them back. But what I will say is that the payoff for doing a lot of these things is good. It allows you to either get new stuff, or more importantly for me anyway, is to learn more about the characters in the world of Nier. So that's the driving motivation for me to complete the quests, as opposed to something like trophies or getting more gold. So I think in that sense, Kavya did a really great job, in giving the player motive to do these things versus them just sort of being mindless quests. Speaking of which, here's another one where you have to get a bunch of stuff for this fisherman to kind of start his business. I like Seafront a lot. I like the kind of broken bridge structure in the background. Something I mentioned in my other video is that this game kind of has this bloomy, dreamy look to it that reminds me of the games of Fumito Ueda, who did Shadow of the Colossus and Ico. And so I'm really enjoying that aspect of the world. And here, on the way to the Aerie, I decided to go ahead and take care of this boar who totally wrecked me earlier in the game. But I figure, well, I can use this boulder to my advantage and just fire around corners, which is kind of nice that Grimoire Weiss kind of hangs out on your left shoulder so you can shoot around corners. And so I got the tusk and grabbed the meat and move on. It took me a long time. I had to cut out probably 5+ minutes of me just shooting him and doing a few sword attacks on him after he fell on the ground. And so here I was happy to run into Kaine again. And so, we haven't seen her for a long time, a few major quests ago. And so here you run into her and she says, doesn't really care about anything and screw the people, whatever. But now you face off with this monster that you fought when you first met Kaine earlier in the game. And this boss battle lasts a long time. I think there are about 4 major sections to it where you face off with him in an arena, and eventually you'll get the prompt to do the attack that will unleash your major magic right here, almost like the climax attacks in Bayonetta. So you have a nice punch, goes flying, and then he moves on to the next platform where he will grab one of those huts where the very the very personable inhabitants of this city reside. So hopefully there wasn't somebody in there, but chances are good that there was. So he waits for you, Kaine goes ahead, and then you have to traverse through the stage to get to the platform. So it's a mix of arena combat with the boss and getting through the level again with new enemies in places, and yeah, so I think it's pretty good. It does go for quite a while. Something I mentioned at the last boss in the junk heap is that it did take a long time, and so boss pacing in this game I think is a little slow, and but they're still fun, and as you're fighting them there's a lot of cool story bits, and coming up I think is one of the more important pieces of the story, where Kaine kind of loses the hard exterior and becomes your ally. And so I think it's really good that the game doesn't just have these fights for the sake of it. It really is building story, and the two, or I guess three of you if you include Grimoire Weiss, you're going through this crazy battle, and Nier takes the time to want to save Kaine and help her. And you get a glimpse into her past a little bit here coming up. So you do this, and then as you think you're about to finish off this boss, he breathes this, I guess, hallucinogenic gas and starts talking about Kaine's grandmother. So Kaine's an interesting design. I did a little bit of reading up on her, or him, depending on what you know about this game. But very interesting. When I first saw her design, I just felt like it was sort of silly and gratuitous. For some strange reason, it works and it matches her personality, and you get some hints that she's hiding something. And so, that right there kind of, provides reasons or motive for her acting the way she does, dressing the way she does. And so I think that's good, and I'm looking forward to learning more about her character as the game progresses. So here, finally, you do this massive attack, and it plays this great cinematic. Right here, the frame rate is just terrible, but I love that pulled out view right there with everything just collapsing around. Looks really nice. Structure's just falling. And he's just kind of skewered on that pole. Pretty gruesome, but after going through all that trouble, it's pretty rewarding to see. So after that, you run to meet Kaine near the beginning of the level, and goes to this other cutscene where she's about to die, it seems, and you reach your hand out and do everything you can to save her. And so, as I mentioned, I think this is a pivotal moment in the game. And I think in any other game, or most other games, she could have just done the stereotypical or expected thing and brush him off and run away and say thanks for nothing, and you go on, like so many bad anime series where people do the opposite of what most normal people would do. But here I like that even though it looks like there is some resistance there, she joins you. And so, compared to how she was earlier in the game and how she's reacting to you now, shows that there is good development happening in their relationship, which I think is fantastic. And Weiss is there, always for a bit of comic relief. I love his voice. It reminds me of my old boss when I worked at THQ, because it has this funny, sarcastic tone that seems very familiar to me. And so I like him as a character too. So now that the three of them are together, I can't wait to see what they do with the story and the dialogue and the growth and the struggles that they'll be going through. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm glad that I got back into this game. It's really fun, and the story has definitely grabbed me. And once again, have to thank my friend John, who lives up in Montreal, for constantly encouraging me to play this and get back into it when it seemed like I might have quit forever. So with that, thanks for hanging out for such a long video, and I will see you in the next one, where we'll be heading to the facade. Take care and have a good one.